What is up everyone, Movie Way back again with another video, and today is going to be another ranking video, and this is going to be for the entire 13 movie Halloween franchise. I have been binging this series the past month leading up to Halloween ends, and I've actually been reviewing these individually with spoilers and everything on their own separate videos. So if you want to check out any Halloween reviews, they will be down below in the description. There's 3 I still need to do, but by the time you're watching this video, they may be up by now. They are in the works. They're coming to the channel very, very shortly. I have had a great time going through this franchise. Some of these were really hazy in my memory. I couldn't remember a damn thing about some of them. There was one of them I hadn't seen in Halloween 3, and there was some that I had fond memories of, like H2O and the original, of course, that I used to watch all the time. So it's been really fun to go through, and plenty to talk about here. Now, I don't think there's any terrible movies here, so even the one that's in last place, to me, it is a bad movie, but I don't think it's on the same level as something like Freddy's Dead from the Elm Street franchise. I don't think Halloween has any of them movies that just suck so hard and they're absolutely awful. I got positives to say about every one of these movies, but there are some negatives as well. So all in all, I'll get to that when I get to it. And don't forget to share your ranking down below. I've seen a few people's rankings online and none of them match up at all to mine. And I do feel like there may be some controversial ones here, especially regarding 1 or 2 movies, because I posted my Letterboxd picture there of my Halloween ranking online in some Facebook groups and stuff, and some people were kind of laughing at me, but whatever. I've just got to go with my honest thoughts. So let me know your thoughts down below and your rankings, and I'll try and get back to you all, I promise. But let's just get into it now. In 13th place with the first movie in this franchise. And coming up in last place is going to be Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. Now, this film was just overloaded with a ton of problems for me. Now, what I will say is, because this isn't a terrible movie, like I said, none of them are, there are some good kills in this. I liked it when Michael scraped that guy's car who was obsessed with keeping the car as sparkling clear as he could. And there was some fun other slasher moments as well, where he was in the barn and he was using like these barn tools to kill everyone and stuff like that. And I was always intrigued towards the end of the movie. That kept me invested to see who this mystery man was who was following Michael Myers around there. However, it just came with so many more negatives than positives for me. The opening scene was very weird, seeing Michael Myers just rolling down this stream like a little rag doll there. I was like, okay. And then he lives with this guy for a whole year, which is in Haddonfield. This guy lives in Haddonfield, and he doesn't realise that this serial killer has been on the loose. I mean, he's the talk of the town and stuff. He just lets him stay in his house for a year there until the next Halloween. Then Michael wakes up and kills him. I'm just like, that is a little strange. Couldn't you come up with something better there? And then the editing is very, very choppy, especially in some of the kill scenes. I was kind of rewinding the movie at times to see what had really happened, how he'd killed people, especially that guy he was living with. And they made the main protagonist, who's potentially going to take over from Laurie Strode in Jamie Lloyd, as a mute, which was a double-edged sword, really, because she did give a good performance there with just using her eyes and her mannerisms and stuff without any dialogue. I thought she put a better performance in this than Halloween 4, actually, even though she was good in that movie as well. So that was kind of a mixed negative for me. It did have its positives. But overall, this movie was just kind of boring, to be honest. There were long, drawn-out sequences where it teased us that Michael was in the background and then nothing would happen. Like, he wouldn't kill anyone at the end of the sequence after following around someone for 5 minutes. But there was also this moment where these cops came out the house and there was just like circus clown music as they appeared. Like, these are the funny comic relief characters. And I was just like, am I watching a horror or a comedy here? And them 2 cops were just dumb characters like the rest of the movie. They weren't funny at all. So that was just a weird thing. Probably the weirdest thing I've seen in the whole Halloween franchise, to be honest, or one of them. But the biggest problem with me for this movie is the introduction of Tina. Now, Rachel was a really great character in part 4. I loved the way her and Jamie went to hell and back, and to just kill Rachel off there and replace her with Tina was just a massive movie mistake, a big horror movie mistake in the history of horror, because she is dreadful. She's jumping around everywhere. She's just over the top. She is so annoying, and the fact that Jamie Lloyd, played by Danielle Harris, who wanted her over Rachel all the time to protect her and stuff, just felt really off to me, because, like I said, she just survived this night with Michael Myers in Halloween 4 and just come out of it at the other end there after escaping death. But no, it's all Tina who she wants to protect her and stuff, and she looks up to more than anyone. And Tina's just an asshole. So I really wanted Michael Myers to just kill her off straight away. I couldn't wait for it to get over with. But even if she was just hit by a damn car, that would have done. I wanted her out of the movie, and she's the biggest negative of Halloween 5 for me. But overall, I don't think this movie was very memorable. And even that guy I was very intrigued with to see who this mystery man was towards the end of the film, we don't even find out until Halloween 6, which mightn't have even happened. They just believed they were going to get this sequel, and 6 years later, I think it was, we finally got it. So that wasn't even revealed to me. The most interesting part of this film being this guy who's following Michael around, you don't even find out who it is. So in 13th place is Halloween 5. Coming up next is going to be, a lot of people will have this at last place, and that is Halloween Resurrection. And the reason this is above Halloween 5 for me is 2 reasons, really. The opening 15 minutes I thought was really good, where he goes into the psychiatric hospital and wants to kill Laurie Strode. But everything up to that, it was just pure Michael Myers. He was just killing people off in his wake. He was busting down walls. And Jamie Lee Curtis, I do feel, is a little bit of a mixed bag for me in this franchise. I've said it in my reviews. I'm not her biggest fan. There are times where I like her as Laurie more than others, but I think it was time for her character to come to an end. Maybe they just shouldn't have included her in the whole movie, but to kill her off was a good decision, I feel, because we've just seen that story path done so many times, and for me, that was a good decision, because I think we needed a fresh new approach for Michael Myers, but it all just falls apart after that, really. However, there is another positive. The kill scenes in this are quite good. We see a annoying blonde woman decapitated. There's that spear going through that guy's neck and stuff like that. So the kills here aren't too bad. However, everything else does bring a lot of problems. The fact that this was a Big Brother situation where it's a live stream, I get that what they were trying to do with the times, it was relevant to what everyone was watching on TV back then, and it tried to play into the pop culture type of things, but I just don't think that's ever going to work for a Halloween movie. It really does give you a bit of an eyesore as well when we're switching between these head cams that people have got on and this CCTV, because 1 minute the visual quality is good, and then we switch these cameras and it's all blurry and stuff, and it just doesn't work. It's very poorly edited, kind of like Halloween 5. There's just really choppy edited moments in there. I just took the enjoyment out of it for me, unfortunately. And we've also got Busta Rhymes as well, who is possibly, I wouldn't say he's the worst character, but he might be the worst actor in the entire Halloween franchise. He is awful. I mean, when he says to Michael, "You look like some crispy fried chicken, motherfucker," at the end, I was like, who wrote this movie? And of course, we do have that drop kick where he kicks Michael Myers out of the window, because he learned it all from watching Kung Fu movies, of course.
Wanna fuck with me? Huh? Fucker.
So, yeah, it's not a very good film, and probably the one I remember the least. Even though Halloween 5 is below it, I'm just glad I wrote everything down for my script, because I forgot about this movie the next day. It was really bad. Not much more else to say. Oh, the ending as well. I mean, Michael just wakes up. Yeah. Cool climax there. I couldn't have thought of that one. So in 12th place is Halloween Resurrection. Coming up in 11th place is going to be one of my more controversial picks, according to some people online, but this seems to be a love or hate it type movie. And that is going to be Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Yes, the one without Michael Myers in it. Now, I knew that going in, and I was kind of excited actually to see a brand new original take on a horror movie, and it had this cult following. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to give this movie a chance. And this was the one film that I had never seen in this franchise. And it was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, who also done the miniseries of It. So that got me pumped a little bit more. That's one of my favourite movies of all time. And this did have some good things going for it. I thought it was a very interesting concept. This approach they took really did work for me. The storyline. The whole toy company type deal and stuff, I do think that you can't get more sinister than that. A toy company wanting to kill a load of kids on Halloween night. So that was another great concept in there. And that song will never ever exit my head every time I watch this movie for at least 2 weeks. I mean, it was overplaying in my head constantly. When I'd done the review for this video, I even played that into the intro there. But it's a cool little tune, it's a catchy song. But again, this movie just had more problems than positives for me. I did think the film was a little bit of a drag. It was quite boring in places. It teased you that things were going to happen all the time, and you're waiting with long stretches. And this was only a 90-minute movie. It seemed like a 2-hour film to me. The Tom Atkins, the main protagonist, is just this ultimate sleazeball that we're meant to get behind. He's got a wife and kids at home, and then he just goes off to find this girl's dad and ends up sleeping with the girl, the main girl in this movie, the main female protagonist, and he's flirting with everyone at work, and I'm like, am I meant to get behind this guy? I mean, he's just an asshole, basically. Yeah, it was just not a very interesting film to me. Like I said in the Halloween 5 review, a boring movie can be as bad as a bad one. I mean, at least with bad movies, you can kind of have fun with it. But this one, it just seemed to go on for a while. And I just don't get the love for this film. Maybe on rewatch, I will warm to it a little bit more. But for now, on this first time watch for me, it just hardly done anything. So in 11th place is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Coming up in 10th place is going to be a movie that seems to get a lot of hate as well, and people have it really low on their rankings. But I did appreciate some of the direction they tried, being the key word, tried to take in this franchise, and that is Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Bear in mind, I did watch the producer's cut, which apparently is the best version. I have seen the theatrical cut when I was a young kid, but I can't remember too much about it, so I'm just going to talk about the producer's cut here. But what I liked about this film, firstly, was the whole look of Michael. In parts 4 and 5, he didn't look great. And even fans of the 4th movie will agree to that. But he looked much more menacing here. It felt like we had Michael Myers back. There was some great kills, especially the opening one where he gets that nurse's head and just slams it against that conveniently placed spike sticking out the wall there. He goes after Jamie Lloyd, who's now got a kid, so he's after the young baby in this one. And there was like reasonings coming out that why Michael is killing. That might not work for some people, but I kind of liked the direction they were trying to go in there, explaining why Michael is like this. I can take it or leave it though. I understand why people would not like that. You got Paul Rudd in there who plays Tommy Doyle. It was a good, cool concept to bring Tommy Doyle back, I suppose. I don't think he gives a great performance in this movie, despite what people say, just because he's this great actor. It was just okay. But the film does come with a lot of problems once again. The execution in the 3rd act is terrible. The film falls apart into a million pieces. The reveal of, the mystery man from the 5th film is in this one, and I could have predicted that at the start of the movie. He conveniently just comes in when this mystery man is going around who's broke Michael Myers out, and he's friends with Donald Pleasance. Yeah, I kind of guessed that it was him very early on in the film. We also have the reveal that this baby is actually Michael Myers because they all pin Jamie Lloyd down for Michael Myers to impregnate her, and I was just laughing my ass off at that. And when it's explained, Michael stood there like a little puppet because of this cult of Thorn who are really in charge and really controlling them. It all just fell apart in the last 20 minutes there, and then what the hell was that with Dr. Loomis there, just having the cult of Thorn appear as a tattoo on his wrist? I couldn't work out what they were trying to tell me with that. it was just a very, very messy movie, and you can see why there's a producer's cut. I suppose. I don't know. I think it was the director or the producer of this film. He even said we should call it The Curse of Michael Myers because of all the background issues that they had making this movie. So that the name even came from how much of a mess this film was. But for 2/3 of it, I was quite enjoying it. I thought Michael was really cool, and there was some cool kill scenes in there, and the music was played at all the right times and stuff. And it was good to see Dr. Loomis back, because I forgot to mention in my Halloween 5 part of the ranking there that he is an absolute psychopath in that movie. He's just always screaming in Jamie Lloyd's face and stuff. So to have him more balanced here was a nice send-off for him, because we couldn't have seen that character go out like he did in 5. But in 10th place is Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, bear in mind, from here on out, I do get quite a bit of an enjoyment from all these movies. I think they're all decent to great movies. I don't think any of these are bad films. But in next place is going to be one from the modern trilogy, and that is Halloween Kills. Yes, my least favourite out of the David Gordon Green trilogy, if you like. There's a lot to like here. Michael Myers is brutal as hell in this movie. The kill scenes are off the scale. And if you just want a film, Michael Myers going through people and just being an absolute menace, you've got it here with Halloween Kills. It's one of the more brutal films in the entire franchise. And the whole 78 things as well, where we go back in time to the fateful Halloween night, that was all filmed perfectly. You know, I loved all that. I loved the way they brought Donald Pleasance back. I mean, that was some seriously great makeup effects there. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And, the whole mob thing, which took from Halloween 4, they kind of incorporated it in here. And also the hospital scenes from Halloween 2, they seem to incorporate that as well. It kind of felt like Easter eggs for fans with good ideas. Overall, it just felt like a nothing movie in the end, because there is hardly any story here. The whole psychiatric patient escaping, and they all thought it was Michael Myers, was dumb. That did not need to be in this film whatsoever. The biggest problem with this film for me, though, is one of the characters. I think he may be worse than Tina from Halloween 5, and that is Anthony Michael Hall's portrayal of Tommy Doyle. Man, I rewatched this movie the other day, and he really brings the movie down a lot. He's always shouting, "Evil dies tonight." I know he wasn't the first person in the movie to say it, but he just absolutely, takes that motherfucker and throws it out the window with himself. I mean, he just can't stop shouting it all the time in this film, and I'm just like, man, shut the fuck up. He gets people into trouble with his decisions, and he wanted to kill that psychiatric patient. He made them jump off the window because he mistakenly thought it was Michael Myers without any checking or whatsoever. He just led this mob to him, and the guy died because of him. He's a terrible character. He really is, and he's got an old Huckleberry baseball bat, and it's just like, come on. He's even talking to the bat at one point. Yeah, he might be my least favourite character in the entire franchise, in all honesty. So, by the end of Halloween Kills, I was just like, it did grow on me a second time. I appreciated it a lot more. The first time I was very disappointed in this film, but the second viewing on rewatch, I did warm to it a little bit, and the kills here are amazing. I love those two characters, Big John and Little John. I thought that was quite funny. I'm not really a big fan of David Gordon Green's comedy that he puts into these films, but that one did actually work for me. I thought that was a really, funny moment, especially when he's dancing to the spooky records and stuff. So overall, Halloween Kills is a good film, but it's just not as good as the movies above it. So Halloween Kills is in next place. Coming in 8th place is going to be Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007. Now, this may have been higher on the list, but there is a big reason for that. This is a film of two halves for me, and people seem to either love one half of it or hate the other half. And I wouldn't say I actually hated the second half of the film, but the first half was definitely more for me. This is the director's cut I watched, so it's a little bit of a longer version. But Dave Farch, who plays a young Michael Myers here, put in a great performance. And what I loved about this is the fact that you really do believe that this kid is fully capable of going on to be this absolutely insane, depraved, sinister serial killer in Michael Myers when he's older, because the brutality very early on, what this kid is doing to people, is off the scale. This is one of the most brutal films in the entire franchise. I'd probably say it's more brutal than Kills. The fact, when I was watching a young Michael Myers just take out his whole family there, I was in shock. I mean, I'm not easily shocked with films, but I was kind of looking at the scene going, wow, this is very impactful from Rob Zombie. And the whole lead up to him becoming Michael Myers in the mental hospital and stuff really worked for me as well. We got to see more interaction with him and Dr. Loomis, played by Michael McDowell, who is excellent in this film. He always puts a good performance in. He's not Donald Pleasance, but he's good enough here. So the whole first half of this film really did work for me. I thought Ronnie was one of the most vile characters I've ever seen in a movie, not just the Halloween franchise, but he was absolutely awful, and he's probably the one who deserved it the most when he got killed early on in the film.
Time. I hope she likes cripples.
Bitch, I will crawl over there and I will skull fuck the shit out of you.
It's just the second half of the film for me where it kind of lets itself down, because even though a lot of it is well filmed and stuff, and Michael looks awesome, and there's some good kills, it's just a carbon copy of the original 1978 film. I mean, everything that is in that film is in here. We've got Laurie looking out the window in school to see Michael, and then she looks away and he's not there. One of the most famous moments from the original 78 film. We've got Tommy Doyle walking down the street saying, "Don't go into the Myers house." And I was just like, I've seen this movie before. It's kind of like Rob Zombie sort of played it very, very safe for the second half of that film after being so ambitious in the first movie and doing his own thing. Now, I know a lot of people don't like the explanation of a young Michael and how he became to be, but for me, after watching 8 movies, I like this new direction. I just wish he would have done his own thing more in the second half of the film, but overall, it's not a bad movie. So that is Rob Zombie's Halloween. Coming up in 7th place is the new kid on the block, Halloween Ends. Now, this has potential for me to go up in the list because I watched this a few nights ago and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. The more I think about it, the better I think this movie was. Another very controversial pick. People have this at the bottom of the rankings. People hated this movie, and there's a lot of people out there who actually appreciated it, like myself. Again, this plays into me watching so much of this franchise in the past month, binging it, and to see something different and a fresh new take worked for me a hell of a lot. Now, I get that some Halloween fans didn't want it to end this way and think it's not a great send-off for Michael Myers and stuff. I get that. And if I watched Halloween Ends last year and didn't binge the series just before Halloween Ends, if I watched Halloween Kills last year, and didn't binge the series leading up to Halloween Ends, I may have thought differently about this film. But like I said, you get something different and you appreciate it. There's a lot of the movies that do the same thing here. The original Halloween, Halloween 4, Halloween 5, Halloween H2O, the second half of Rob Zombie's Halloween, Halloween 2018, they all feel very, very familiar. So to see a totally new direction with this new character, Corey, who was one of my favourite characters in the franchise up to now, thought he was great. And to see his story path after a very impactful opening scene, I was all on board with it. I was very confused during the movie as to say, what's going on here? Why is this playing out the way it is? But I couldn't help but like what I was seeing. And there is less kills in this than Halloween Kills and Halloween 2018, but there's some memorable ones, like the tongue getting cut out and stuff like that. And I thought it was a very satisfying last 20 minutes between Laurie and Michael Myers. And yeah, I don't think there's any comeback for Michael after this one. So maybe we just need a whole new reboot if we're going to go that way. Or dare I say it, Halloween 3 from Rob Zombie. I don't know. But for me, this movie totally worked. And I can't wait to watch it again. So in 8th place is going to be Halloween Ends. Coming up in 6th place is a movie that I had very fond memories of from a teenager, and I watched this a hell of a lot on VHS, and that is Halloween H2O. This might just be the simplest movie to watch out of the entire Halloween franchise, and I include the original 78 in that one. I think this might have the shortest runtime. This film absolutely flew by, and it's a very, very simple way of telling a Halloween film. After a great opening scene, we see that Laurie Strode is struggling with life after 20 years of Michael Myers trying to kill her and stuff. And she is a functioning alcoholic. It's having an impactful life with her son, played by Josh Hartnett, that, you know, she's sort of alienated people around her, and she wants to get over this Michael Myers thing that's stuck with her all her life. She's seeing him in mirrors, in reflection in doorways, and she's really trying hard to cope. She's trying everything, and I liked that storyline. I thought Michael Myers was great in this, apart from the eyes. I mean, you could have worked on the mask a little bit better, but that rollerblade and that guy's head at the start, that got, you know, Laurie Strode's sort of boyfriend who she's seeing, the guy she's seeing get stuck with the knife and just lifted up by Michael Myers. I was like, oh, I was wincing there. And Michael Myers is on a rampage in this movie. He is swinging a knife at Josh Hartnett through the gate. I mean, he's just looking to kill, and I suppose you would be like that after 20 years of being a badass serial killer and not killing anyone. So I thought this might have been weird for fans of the franchise at the time. They just retconned most of the franchise there and went, you know what, this is the way we're going to go now. And I don't recall many movies doing that at the time. So it was a good move, and it got the franchise back on track after the case of Michael Myers. I think we did need a simple Halloween film, you know, after that movie, after the mess that it was towards the end of that film. And we also have a great last moment with Michael and Laurie here, and she just chops his head off with the axe. I thought that was one of the best Halloween moments in the entire franchise. My biggest problem with this movie is, though, Laurie Strode. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Jamie Lee Curtis fan, and I liked everything they were doing with their story, but she just comes off as an arsehole in this movie. She's screaming at her son all the time. She's very, very bossy, and I just didn't like the portrayal of Laurie in this film, I'm afraid. And it also does play it very, very safe, which isn't really a negative, but, you know, there's not much more to it apart from Michael coming back on Halloween night. Something we've seen a lot before, but overall, a very enjoyable film and definitely one of the better movies in this franchise. So in sixth place is H2O. Okay, the big boys are out to play now because we are in the top 5. And in 5th place is going to be Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Now, I remember not really liking this film when I owned it back on VHS back in the day. I think it was because the whole look of Michael Myers. He does look pretty awful in this movie. George P. Wilbur puts a good performance in, but the look doesn't help him at all. The mask is probably the worst mask I've seen in all the Halloween films. So I think that's what put me off back in the day. But on this rewatch, I really did enjoy this film. It had a really cool opening scene with the Halloween decorations on that abandoned farmhouse and stuff. And then we just cut to Michael Myers getting transferred from one hospital to this high security jail, and it's pouring down rain, the music, you know, it all felt like a very good Halloween themed type movie. But this is like an on the road film as well at times. Michael Myers escaping from the ambulance. You know, he's at the gas station at one point with Dr. Loomis, and then they have a confrontation. The gas station blows up, and Michael just scoots away there in his truck with the music playing. I thought that was a really cool moment. And we also have the introduction of Jamie Lloyd, Laurie Strode's daughter there, and his stepsister Rachel, who are two really good protagonists to get behind. I really like these two characters leading the film. You know, I loved the way they looked after each other and stuff. Rachel was a really awesome character, especially. I really did like her in this film. It's such a shame they killed her off in part 5. And there's some cool kills here as well, with Michael throwing that Bucky, the electrician, onto the power lines there, who killed 2 birds with 1 stone. He gets his kill, and he gets to Blackout Haddonfield. And the whole mob type deal as well is really, really interesting. Just the whole mob is fed up on Michael Myers now. They want to go after him. And I just thought it was a really, really good Halloween film. But the best thing about this movie for me was the ending. It's such a shame they retconned it in part 5 because it looked like Jamie Lloyd was going to be the new Michael Myers. You know, with the whole mask on. Michael Myers had died. Well, we were led to believe that he did. She had the whole mask on that a young Michael wore from the Halloween 78 film, and Dr. Loomis is just absolutely screaming, saying, no, no, and he wants to shoot him, and he's pulled away last minute. He realises that this whole evil he's battling all his life with Michael Myers is about to come back in Jamie Lloyd, and I thought that was a fucking awesome ending after she just stabbed their mother. They should have went with that. They maybe should have made I don't know, a new Michael Myers in Jamie Lloyd, but a totally different take on the character. She could have been this new killer stalking Haddonfield and stuff. I thought that would have been amazing, but obviously Michael Myers is the boy. We did need to have him back, I suppose, in some way. But Halloween 4 was a really, really cool entry into this franchise and one I thoroughly enjoyed. So that is in 5th place. Coming in 4th place was a very, very hard decision for me because I was going to put Halloween 4 here, but ultimately I went with Halloween 2018. This film really did grow on me on my last rewatch. When I first watched this film, I was kind of disappointed, I'm not going to lie. But on rewatch, I really did appreciate what David Gordon Green done here and the direction that he decided to go in. He retconned the whole franchise and just done a direct sequel from the original 78 film. And he done a good job of bringing it all back, really. Michael Myers is fucking awesome in this movie. He looks great. You know, everything about Michael Myers is on point here. There's a moment where he walks through these two houses and just kills a few people and stuff, and it's kind of all done to look like one shot, and I thought that was a great moment here. And Jamie Lee Curtis, her character, is kind of like the Sarah Connor thing here, where she's been training all her life for Michael's return, and she's got a granddaughter now and a daughter. I thought that was a very interesting story path to go in. I do wish they kept Halloween 2 as canon, though, from 1981, mainly because Michael Myers just kills the same amount of people in this movie that he did on that fateful Halloween night, because they only included the first film in the first 20 minutes of this film or something like that. So it would have been a much more believable that if Jamie Lee Curtis was waiting all her life for him and Michael Myers was this really psychopathic killer if they included the second film, because his body count would have been much higher going into this one. They didn't need to say that it wasn't Laurie Strode's brother. I didn't like that. And there's some questionable dialogue. Peanut butter on my penis, what the fuck? I did not like the whole Dr. Loomis. Well, he's not Dr. Loomis, he's Michael's new doctor in this. The whole thing where he wants to turn and be like Michael Myers. But it just has much more positives going for it than negatives. This is a very, very strong film. It's very enjoyable throughout, very well paced. And a really, really great ending as well. So in 4th place is Halloween 2018. In 3rd place is probably going to be my most controversial pick on this list, because this is again is another Marmite movie, but a lot more people seem to hate it than love it, and that is going to be Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Now, remember what I said before about binging this franchise, where you get something different? Well, Rob Zombie just said, "Fuck you all, I'm going to do my Halloween film," and I think this is more what he wanted to do in the original, instead of playing it safe in the second half of the film. Yes, it does follow a very familiar story path with Michael just coming back to try and kill Laurie Strode, but it's everything that is in between there which feels very different. Michael is more of a hooded figure in this. He seems a little bit more humane, actually, because he's like eating animals and stuff like that. He talks at one moment. Bear in mind, I watched the unrated cut here. This is definitely more Laurie Strode's movie as well, because she's dealing with this mental health. You know, the scars of the last Halloween have really stayed with her, and she's just freaking out on everyone. She's not a nice person to be around, like the Laurie Strode we know. Besides Halloween H2O there. She is really just this really messed up character who needs serious, serious help. And Michael Myers has absolutely took over her life in her head. But what really I love about this film more than anything is the opening dream sequence. It goes on for 25 minutes. I hate dream sequences in films, but it really does work for this one, because part of it is real anyway, where he escapes the ambulance, but the way Rob Zombie directs this, man, is incredible. All the rain just pouring off Michael, he's brutally just murdering people in the hospital, and he breaks down a little shack to try and find Laurie, and Laurie wakes up screaming. It's all so well done, and Rob Zombie, despite what you think of him, has serious, serious talent if he can make pure horror like them first 25 minutes. And the rest of the movie is well directed as well. Just that first 25 minutes seems to stand out there. But why it works, it does show the trauma that Laurie's going through. It plays into that, which plays out for the rest of the movie as well. And there's some brutal, brutal kills in here. The prostitute getting her head smashed into the mirror and her face just bloody caves in by all the nurse there early on. getting just stabbed to death. I mean, she's dead, and then Michael just leaves the knife in her fucking head, and I was like, fucking hell, Michael, she's dead. I mean, Michael Myers seems to have a very serious chip on his shoulder here. He's just full of hate, and he is just ready to kill everything that gets in his path. Now, there are problems with this movie. Apart from that first dream sequences, I'm not a fan of the other dream sequences, especially the visions that Michael and Laurie have with Rob Zombie's Rob Zombie's wife, Sherry Moon Zombie, and the fact that she's telling Michael to kill after being quite a nice character in the first film and looking after him. It didn't make sense for her to tell him to go on and kill all these people in this one. I wish they would have left all of that out. The Malcolm McDowell character as well, Dr. Loomis, going in a new direction, being a proper arsehole in this movie, making money off the Myers killings and stuff, and everyone hating him. People hate that, and I get it, because Dr. Loomis is such a beloved character in the franchise. In fact, he's my favourite character in the Halloween series. But I didn't mind this direction because this is a new approach. It's a new universe that Rob Zombie has created. Why do the same thing? That was fine for me in this movie. So, apart from all these visions and dream sequences, it may have been higher on the list because I absolutely loved Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. If you hated it the first time and you haven't rewatched it, give it another chance. Oh yeah, he can work on dialogue. He needs to work on that. I should have said that in the remake version as well. Rob Zombie, there's too many F-bombs, man. No one talks like that. But in third place is a very, very strong movie, Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie. Coming in at second place is a film that surprised the hell out of me because I remember not liking this at all as a kid, and I had it on a double feature with Halloween and Halloween 2, and it is in fact Halloween 2 from 1981.
I shot him 6 times. I shot him in the heart. I can't have gotten very far. Come on. I shot him 6 times.
I was so surprised at how good this movie was when I watched it. Rick Rosenthal, who directed this and Halloween Resurrection, couldn't have been more worlds apart. How he made that movie and this one is weird because it's just chalk and cheese. This is so well directed. He can tell he takes inspiration from John Carpenter. Doesn't quite get it to the level, but there's some seriously nice camera work in this movie, especially the start where we're following Michael around Haddonfield through all these back alleys and stuff. I mean, it was just chilling to watch Michael going into people's houses as the radio is reporting on a madman on the loose and stuff like that. And then it all eventually does take place in the hospital, which is a really cool setting for a horror movie. And this is one that does it the best now, isn't it? I mean, everyone who mentions Halloween 2, they go, is that the one in the hospital? And Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode sort of takes a bit of a back seat in this one. This is more Dr. Loomis's movie. And we follow him more than anyone, really, trying to track Michael down. And, I love the way he just gets angry with people and shouts in their faces. And you've got to listen to Dr. Loomis because he's always right. Even that kid, they think they've got Michael Myers, but that kid who's dressed up as him, and Loomis persists with the dental records and they prove that it isn't Michael Myers. That's why Loomis is awesome in this. I love the opening line where he says, you don't know what death is, and the music kicks in. Man, that is just, I got goosebumps talking about it. And there is some really great kill scenes in this. This is a great slasher sequel. It's a lot more of a slasher than the first movie because Michael is just taking people out in this hospital. The kill where he drowns the nurse in the boiling water, that is awesome. So, overall, a great climax as well where Dr. Loomis just takes out both of them to, basically just end Michael Myers there. I think that's what they had in mind. Oh, the reveal as well of Laurie Strode being Michael's sister. I know this doesn't work for John Carpenter, but for me it definitely did because it gave more purpose as to why Michael's going after Laurie. It made more sense. So for me, this was a solid slasher sequel, and I will definitely rewatch this again. When I re-binged the Halloween franchise, this is one I'm going to look forward to the most because I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Not many problems with this movie for me at all, really. But if you want to see me go into full thoughts, don't forget, my Halloween reviews are down below. So in second place is Halloween 2. Coming up in first place, though, most people will have this in their number one spot, and that is Halloween 1978 from John Carpenter, where this big, massive franchise and this iconic killer all started. Where do you even start with this movie? I mean, in my review, I started with the music because that is part of the film. It's kind of like Jaws from Steven Spielberg, where he says the music plays such a big part. I feel like that's the same case here with Halloween 78, because John Carpenter just plays it at all the right moments. If someone runs into Michael Myers, like that kid at school, the music just starts up and stuff. It just is played at all the right moments. It's perfect. It is one of the best scores you will ever see in a movie. But apart from that, it's just a very simple but amazingly executed movie. It's the definition of simple but effective. You know, we hadn't really seen anything like this back in 1978. Of course, you had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Black Christmas, but I do feel the slasher craze really went off after this movie. Michael Myers stalking babysitters. You don't get much more slasher than that, do you? The fact that John Carpenter just points the camera in all the right directions. The moment where Laurie's walking down the street with her friends and Michael Myers has been spying on her all day and she's starting to get a bit wary of him. He goes past in the car, and as he goes past, he just tilts his head even more so he can just look at it even more. That's a chilling moment. It's just so many iconic moments in this movie. You know, you got I think his name's Bob. I got Bob and Paul mixed up. I think his name's Bob, but he puts the sheet over his head with the glasses. I mean, you know, it's really Michael Myers disguised as a serial killer. It's like a serial killer dressed up as a serial killer there. But, you know, you just get so many, you know, very friendly stuff in this movie as well with Laurie and her friends. You know, she's just a normal girl. She's walking down the street with her friends, going to school, just having fun. And then this traumatic episode just comes into her life. But I love the whole third act as well, where it's Michael versus Laurie. And the ending has got to be talked about because it probably is the best ending in the entire franchise. Dr. Lewis just shoots Michael over the balcony there, and you look over and he's gone. I mean, that is the first part where we thought, is this guy human or not? The music kicks in once again. It's perfect. The movie is just brilliant, and it gets better every single time I watch it. I notice little things that just improve it greatly. So, for me, it has to be Halloween 1978 in #1 spot. So, that is your #1, of course. Okay, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this ranking. I know it can be controversial, especially with the likes of Halloween 3 and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, but these are my honest thoughts. Maybe even Halloween Ends as well. They're probably the most Marmite movies of the lot, aren't they? Do you agree with this ranking? Do you not? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm really going to miss Michael Myers. You know, I've had such a fun time watching these. It's been a roller coaster journey. And in a couple of years, I probably will binge it again. Or if there's a new Halloween film on the horizon, who knows? Let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Do you agree with this ranking? Do you not? I haven't seen anyone with the same ranking as me, but that's the fun of movies, isn't it? It's all about opinions. So thanks so much, guys. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like. It would really help me out, and I'll see you all in the next video.